can start?
Yes.
Yep. Hang on. Okay. Thank you so much for that introduction. It's great to be here today, and welcome to the Gold Business Network Training Centre webinar. I'm Ashley Manuel from Growing with Gratitude, and we're here today to talk about how to change the culture of your business and school. Now, it might seem a bit odd talking about businesses and schools, but the actual philosophy that I'll be talking about today is just as relevant for both businesses and schools. So we're going to get, actually just before we start, I'll definitely encourage everyone to write down their questions as they go, and in that question and answer time at the end, we'll certainly get to those questions. So we'll get straight into it. Now, who is this for? So this webinar today is for business leaders and teachers who know the importance of positive education but are unsure how to implement it. Sorry, the slide deck. Oh, here we go. Sorry. Yep. A time for business leaders and teachers who are worried about another thing you have to implement or teach, are finding their employees and students lack gratitude and are self-centered, are battling with employees and students who lack resilience and give up easily when things are challenging and don't go their way, and who are also unproductive, are finding employees and students unkind to each other and are not getting along, are constantly battling with internal issues in the business or with friendship issues, and who would like to improve their own health and well-being themselves. So in the next 40 minutes, we're going to cover and learn how a deep sense of gratitude will change and enhance the culture of your business and school, and we'll discover why gratitude is useless unless you practice. And we're going to go through and learn how to build resilient employees and students so you can put your energy into quality leadership and teaching instead of wasting energy on the things that are chewing up valuable time. And we'll discover the power of the compound effect and reframing when it comes to changing or enhancing the culture of your business and school. And we'll also learn how and why we embed a deep culture of gratitude into primary schools and family homes across the globe. So in this webinar today is my promise to you that we'll go through and learn how to embed a deep culture of gratitude into your business and school, but not just gratitude, but other positive, which I like to call positive habits of gratitude, but also kindness, of empathy, optimism, and mindfulness, and they're the key building blocks to building resilience and happiness and joy within our schools and our workplaces. So I just want you to just think about this question. Do you feel it's impossible? Do you feel that it's impossible, that you think it's not possible for your business and school to change or enhance the culture? So you might think you've got a really strong culture at the moment and it can't get any better, or you think, oh, yeah, it's going to be really hard to change our culture, we're pretty set in our ways. But the real problem is that you just haven't made the shifts, and the great thing about it's not your fault, because sometimes we just don't know about different things that we can implement to really boost that culture. And the great thing is about it, once you make the shifts, you will have embedded a deep culture of gratitude, not only in your life, but in your business, your classroom, but across the whole business of school. So we're talking about from right at the top with the leaders, right through the different stages within your business in different employee levels, and different or within the students, but also the principals, school leaders, the teachers and the students, and the whole community, the parents. It's very powerful. So it's a whole community. And once you make it also, you'll be equipped with the tools and strategies required so that you, your employees and students can thrive in a grateful, resilient, kind, mindful, empathetic and happy environment. And you'll realise that you don't have to spend hours and hours building the culture in an already jam-packed schedule. Because often we know that, or particularly school teachers, being a former primary school teacher, we often get things added to the curriculum but not much taken away. So it's not about hours and hours, it's about just short blocks of time across the day, and we'll go through that. And and you'll do all these things enjoying knowing you are building resilience and happiness within you, your employees and students for the rest of their lives. It's very powerful. And the one thing you need to know is that there are 5 simple shifts you need to make to change the culture in your business and school while improving your own well-being and seeing positive changes within your employees and students. And I'm going to walk through exactly how to make those shifts today. So just a quick brief, who am I? So my name, as I said before, is Ashley Manuel. I worked as a primary school teacher for 12 years, and it made me come to realise that there was a culture of gratitude was missing from school as a whole. So we started off in primary school gratitude, and now we actually help businesses as well as employees and students and teachers embed a culture of gratitude across the whole workplace and school. And we're having a great time moving into the businesses, and we've got a great collaboration with Be Intent, which we'll talk about as we go. And our specialty is helping people start and stick to a daily practice of gratitude and make it a part of who they are. So it's not just about doing the odd training day of well-being or positive psychology and then being excited and we're going away, and after a couple of weeks the excitement goes away and we don't make it part of who we are. That's what we specialise in, and making it part of who we are in daily practice. So discovering the 5 shifts. So the 5 shifts now, I just talked about this before, but there are 5 key shifts you must take to change the culture of your business and school while improving your own well-being and seeing positive changes within your employees and students. So something that's come up is that a lot of businesses and schools are not investing in well-being. So many employees and students are battling with issues away from work and school. Now, we've done a lot of research on this, and one of the things that particularly Suzanne Hall, the founder of Be Intent, who we collaborate with, she discovered that through a lot of her research that employees were coming to work bringing issues that were coming from home or other areas of their life. And I'll give you a quick example. She was talking to, doing some consultancy, and she was talking to a lady who had an argument with her husband at the start of the day. And then she ran late to work and she had a horrible start to the day. And what that did, that continued on throughout her day, and she wasn't very productive. It was very evident that she wasn't in a good headspace, and therefore that affected her work. And another gentleman, the poor fella had a night up all night with his sick child, and then he came to work tired and feeling not great, and that affected his output at work as well. And there's a lot of, and we found some evidence of that within students as well. There might be things that are happening at home, and they're coming to school and dealing with those issues in the school, and they're finding it hard to concentrate and be at their best. So that's what we found. And employees are sometimes not investing in the well-being of their employees, and same with schools. We're not investing in the well-being of students. And another thing that has been happening is that don't know where to start. So businesses and schools may be aware of the importance of psychology or positive education, but okay, where do we start? And are unaware of the science behind positive psychology and its remarkable benefits. Some people just might not be aware, and that's perfectly fine. It's just we just didn't know. But once we make those shifts and we invest in the well-being of yourself, staff, and students, there can be some really big benefits. And I just want to talk about a study that was done at the University of Berkeley, California campus recently, where 2,000 employees were involved in a study, and 10% reported back saying that they feel they work in a grateful environment, a real happy, regular expression of gratitude happens in their workplace, and that particularly coming from the leaders down and filtering into the staff. And that's only 10%, so 200 out of 2,000 people. But in the same study, 93% of people reported that they believed it was an important part of a workplace. So only 10% of those 2,000 people believe that was happening, but 93% believe it should be a regular practice of our businesses, of our workplace. But I think what's happened in business is that we've got a thing called a gratitude deficit disorder, where I think sometimes we think, well, we pay the employees to work, and that's our thank you by paying them. But humans need the psychological stimulation as well, and that often comes from gratitude and expressing gratitude to the employees. So it's very important that leaders express gratitude to their employees, and they lead by example, and then that filters throughout the whole business. And it's schools as well. Leaders, if they can, teachers, principals, if they can model that behaviour, then it's going to hold the whole workplace and the whole business and the school in great stead and create that culture. But the important thing is that it's got to be on a regular basis, and it's got to be consistent. And we'll talk about that a bit more as we go. And it's at the moment in the UAE region, they started the Smart Dubai initiative, which is very powerful, and it's just a great initiative, and it's good timing to be able to do this presentation as well. So once we invest in wellbeing, and we know it's important, we made a shift to understand how important it is to teach gratitude and kindness and empathy and mindfulness, as I said, the key building blocks to resilience and happiness. Greater productivity and creativity, that's what some of the effects are, the benefits. Better relationships, better leaders and negotiators, we're less depressed and anxious, better physical health, we cope better with stress and trauma, we're more resilient, we commit to achieving goals. And that research is from predominantly from Martin Seligman, who was one of the founders of positive psychology from Penn State University, and we've actually done our research with the University of South Australia in our primary schools. We've found some of those points to be the key points as well as the Be Intent research as well. So they're the key points. Now, when we look at those, there's some really powerful points there, that the benefits that can really relate to business and schools to really create that culture, and some key things there. And I'll talk about how we go about cultivating them very shortly. And the great thing about it is that you don't have to reschedule your entire day to make this happen at school and to make it happen in business. And you only have to use a few 2 to 10 minute blocks across the day, or really one, really. You might begin at the start of the day, at break times, at the end of the day. I highly recommend starting at the beginning of the day, because we really set our intentions for that day by doing it first thing. So how? That's the question that we often get asked is, well, that's great, those benefits are great, but how do we cultivate it? How do we implement that in our workplace? Well, we do it through the cultivation of activities, just short 2 to 10 minute long activities. Now, a good activity to do is write 3 things you're grateful for. That's a great place to start. Now, what we actually found in some of our research, though, particularly for children, and then later realised that it was some evidence there with adults as well, is that writing 3 things you're grateful for every day can be quite boring for students. And we discovered that with a small study that we did, and every one of those children aged from 6 to 11, so primary school age children, found the activity writing, so they had to do it for every day for 5 weeks, and they found it boring. So that's when we discovered, well, that's great, well, that's a really good feedback to get, because it's a great activity, but maybe just not every day, so we had to find other ways to cultivate gratitude in particular. So there's a great activity that we come up with called Stop, Think, Appreciate. And where that came from is listening to a gentleman named David Stendhal-Rast talk. And what he spoke about in his talk, he went away for a long period of time without electricity, without clean drinking water, or with easy access to clean drinking water. And when he returned home, what he spoke about was when he walked through the door, he turned on the light, and the appreciation and the gratitude that he had for that light, the electricity in his home, was just immense, and you could just tell in his voice. And he did the same and talked about how he went over to the water tap, the clean drinking water tap in his kitchen, and poured himself a drink of water. And he just spoke about how grateful he was for that water and easy access to it. And I thought that's just a brilliant way, really lowering the bar of what we can be grateful for. But okay, how can we make that a practice? And so we consciously practice that. So what we come up with a simple process to do that. So if you get a sticker label, whether it be a small circle sticker label of any colour, and each employee or each student or in the family home, each member of the family gets a little sticker. And what you have to do, you have to identify things in the home that we can be grateful for. So putting the sticker on light switches in the house, in the office, or in the classroom, or lunch boxes. A lot of children choose their lunch boxes in class, or the fridge at home, or the laptops in the office. It's a very powerful activity because what it's aimed to do, and we aim to lower the bar with things that we're grateful for. We encourage the children and the employees to put the dots, the little stickers on, really things that we sort of take for granted. And what it does is when we actually recognise those stickers, it's designed to trigger, just in our mind, to shift our thinking for just a couple of seconds. It's not designed to dwell on it for 10, 15, 20 minutes or an hour or anything. It's just a short shift in our thinking to really focus on the good things, those small things we sometimes take for granted that we can be grateful for. And building that habit over time can have a huge impact. And that's what the Stop, Think, Appreciate activity is designed to do. But we can also cultivate kindness. So we can do little small acts of kindness around the office. And as I spoke about before, leaders sending emails to their employees thanking and really appreciating for something they did. And employee to employee, student to student, doing little acts of kindness. Very powerful. Serving others, so very similar. Serving others, doing things for other people without expecting anything in return is a great way to build the culture, but also cultivate the positive habits within us. Short meditation is a great way to improve our well-being if it's just a simple 2-minute breathing activity. It can help us a lot. Positive reflection. So as human beings, we tend to be wired to focus on the negatives, and that's why when you watch news on TV, it's a lot of negativity, and that's what ratings bring. Negativity brings ratings. That's why it occurs, because we tend to be drawn to that. But the great thing about it is that science tells us that we can actually rewire our brains to focus on the good things. And the way we can do that, I'll share with you what I've got a little routine that I do. I'm happy to share that. And I just keep a little notepad next to my bed. And I spend a couple of minutes before I go to sleep writing a couple of things that I learned during the day, the best part about my day. Also, I write something about how I help people as well. And what that does, that is my last conscious thought before I go to sleep, which is a positive one. And there's research behind that, which says it's a good thing, a positive thing to do. Because when we wake up from our sleep, the last positive thought we had the night before was, the last thought we had before we went to bed the night before was a positive one. And we wake up on a positive note unconsciously the next day. And also, to cultivate that positive reflection, a great way to do it is through the questions we ask. So instead of just asking questions about how was your day, ask questions to students and employees and each other and family members. So what was the best part about your day? What was your favourite part? What was your highlight? What was your best part about the weekend? And it's very powerful because it encourages us to scan the day for our positives or the weekend for our positives. And it's not going to happen overnight, but if we ask those questions, if we practice on a regular basis, over time, we'll start to focus on the positives by consciously practicing, but it will turn into unconscious and we start to do that automatically. And also we've got laughter, music, and exercise that science tells us that can increase our well-being and put us in a better mood. So if you're having a bit of a rough day and it's possible, do a bit of exercise, even if it's just 10, 15, 20 star jumps just in a little corner of the office, or go out for a little game at the school, or put your favourite song on to really improve your mood. Laughter, I like putting a little funny, appropriate, of course, YouTube clip on to get it to laugh, because the happy chemicals in our brain gets triggered and it gets fired off and it improves our mood. And there's 3 little laughter, music, and exercise, 3 little cool ways to improve our well-being and put us in a happier mood. So what we'll do now, we'll move on to another shift that we can make. So lack of consistency. Now, what lack of consistency means is gratitude is useless unless you practice. Now, I'll expand on about that in a minute. But I'll talk about this now. So if I ask people here who is grateful, I would say that everyone put their hand up. But if I ask the other question about, well, do you practice being grateful or practice gratitude on a daily basis or at least 4 or 5 times a week? If you're honest, you may say, oh, maybe I don't, which is fine because we're learning the power of that habit. And unless what happens when we practice on a regular basis is that our heart and our mind align, and that's when the real power of gratitude can really take effect and have a huge impact. And over time it compounds, and I'll talk about the compound effect very shortly, but it compounds to huge benefits. And then what happens after that compounding, we can think quicker, and then we can put things in different frames, put things in different perspective, which I'll talk about more very shortly. And the lack of consistency also is many teachers in the classroom will only do a positive education activity every now and then. And many businesses will only do a one-off session on wellbeing. But that's good, at least it's proactive, but it's not going to make it a part of who we are by just doing one-off sessions. And also, learning how to be consistent with the cultivation of gratitude can be challenging. It can be challenging because we're just not sure how to do it. But when we understand that it's just small pockets of time, 2 to 10 minutes, and when we invest that time, the rewards that you'll get from that in the school and in the business is huge. And struggles with fitting in an already full daily schedule. So I spoke about before, in particular in schools, teachers often get a lot of a lot of extra things added to the curriculum and not much taken away. So how do we fit it in? But as I spoke about before, and we'll talk about that now, just those short blocks of time. But what happens when we are consistent, we make that shift to be consistent and implement consciously practice in the school and in the business and at home, the compound effect can kick in or kicks in. Now, if I explain the compound effect or compound interest, we'll use that as an example, and we'll use money, and we'll use some even numbers, for example. So if we take $100 at the start of the month, and we get a very, very generous interest rate of 10%. So at the end of the month, we have $110. Then we add another $100 at the start of next month, so now we've got $210. We get another 10% interest at the end of that month, and so we've got an extra $21. So now we've got a total of $231. But that isn't really a huge amount now after a couple of months. But if you keep doing that over and over, month after month, year after year, that's when it will start to be a significant amount. And it's exactly the same with learning, I like to call them positive habits, with gratitude and kindness, empathy, mindfulness, compassion and joy. We can actually cultivate that, and it's very powerful, and that's what happens when we practice on a regular basis. And the great thing about it is that knowing gratitude will change the culture. So once we actually make the shift and know the positive that it will bring, I want you to think about this question. Are you better off practicing gratitude and the other positive habits of happiness? And the great thing about it is, I'll just go back a step. So are you better off practicing gratitude and the other habits of happiness, knowing that it's got to bring more productivity and creativity within your students? I've seen evidence of that with productivity. The kids, the great thing about this is in our research, the kids have actually spoken about this. They've said they've been able to concentrate better participating in activities, short habit building activities. And you don't have to reschedule an entire day. As I spoke about, just use brain breaks. Short blocks of time to start, 4 break times at the end of the day. And it's so powerful to implement in your classroom, in the business, and in the family home. Now I want to talk about another thing that comes up is the lack of the awareness that you can cultivate gratitude and happiness. Now, I did not know a number of years ago now that you could cultivate happiness and gratitude. And the way I found out was when I first started to invest in property. And I started to research successful property investors. Well, I know when I say successful, I know success means different things to a lot of people, but successful property investors have done very well out of it. So what they were talking about was they kept on talking about this thing about happiness leading to their success. And further on from that, they kept on talking about this thing about gratitude leading to their happiness, happiness leading to their success. And I always knew what gratitude was, and obviously knew what happiness was, but what I didn't know is that you can actually cultivate gratitude and cultivate happiness by spending a short amount of time in your day to do these little cultivating activities. And it was so powerful, personally for me, it had a huge impact. I started to see things differently, I put things in different perspective, and it did have a huge impact, and that was one of the reasons why I wanted to do this in primary schools. I've been a primary school teacher and had a really, I guess, frustration that I never got taught this in primary school, so that was one of the reasons why we wanted to do it, but also that's why we've shifted and gone to businesses as well, and of course family homes. So many people are under the assumption you're either happy or you're not. Your environment decides your happiness. Buying material things leads to happiness. Now, that might be something that will bring you a bit of happiness, buying your favourite car or something like that for a short amount of time, but the research shows that over a longer period of time, it's not going to bring long-lasting happiness. So, and also we talk about, it comes up often, is gratitude is a virtue. You either have it or you don't. And that's, I guess, the lack of the awareness of it. Once we actually make that shift and we understand how powerful it is to cultivate these positive habits, the investment in time is your friend. So as a school, as a teacher, as a business leader, it's so important that we actually invest the time in our employees and our students, because that investment will help you so much. And think about this question: how would your life be different if your employees or students improve their relationships, if they were more productive, and if they didn't go up so easily, if they didn't give up so easily? So would that make your life a lot easier as a teacher or as a business leader? And also, would you be able to spend, I'm sort of asking the question here, would you be able to spend more time on more important roles in leadership and quality teaching lessons rather than dealing with constant, small, time-consuming issues? So once we invest the time and implement a system within our organisation or in our school or in our family home, it's powerful, powerful. Now, another thing I want to speak about is what often happens is, if we ask what reframing is, a lot of people know, but a lot of people don't know. So another thing that is coming up is we're not knowing how to reframe. So what is reframing and how to use it? So I spoke about the compound effect before. So once we invest that time and we practice on a daily basis, and over time we make it a part of who we are, what gratitude is a part of who we are, kindness is a part of who we are, empathy, compassion, we're mindful, it's part of who we are. Now the next step that comes in is reframing. Now once we have that compound effect or that kicks in, we tend to be able to think quicker in terms of thinking, well, especially when things don't go our way. So as human beings, it's fine to be sad, it's fine to be angry, it's fine to be mad. But if I ask people, who wants to be sad, angry, mad all of the time, I would say that 100% of us say no. We want to be happy, and that's what we're here on earth to be. We want to be happy, and we want to help people. So what we can do once the compound effect kicks in, and we've consciously practiced, now a lot of our behaviour is becoming unconscious when it comes to the positive habits, we can think quicker to reframe things, to put things in different perspective. So what I mean by that, I'll give you a couple of examples. So as a teacher, you might have had a great day, but then something happened at the end of the day. So a parent may have come in and said some quite nasty things and some hurtful things. Now, you've got a decision. You've got two options. You can either, go home and take that negativity back home to your family, and that rubs them, or you might be going to a function or somewhere after work, and that negative set mindset might continue on there as well and affect other people, but also not giving you the best experience. Or your second choice is to reframe it, to put it in a different perspective. So an example of self, this is all, I guess, with self-talk in this situation, is that if I was that teacher who had that argument with the parent, or the hard conversation with the parent, I can say to myself, well, to be honest, I actually don't know their situation. They might have had a really, really hard day, and I was just in the wrong place at the wrong time and caught the brunt of their bad day. You know what? I'm actually really lucky because I'm grateful that I'm going home to a loving family. I've got a nice bed to sleep in. I'm going to have a meal tonight. Maybe it's really not that bad. I'm okay. And if you look at that wellbeing scale down the bottom, you've got -10, which is the worst mood ever, and that could have come from a tragedy, or it just could have come from a really tough day. And then you've got, on the other end of the scale, you've got +10, which is just the best mood ever. You're up and about, and you're excited, and everything's great. And then you've got everything in between. Now that argument with the parent, or the hard conversation with the parent, that might have put you at a -5. But reframing it could put you back to say 0, where you're thinking, I'm okay, it's not really that bad. And that's when the gratitude comes in. But that way of thinking only comes in when we practice on a regular basis and makes gratitude and kindness, empathy, compassion a part of who we are. And it's so powerful, so powerful. So that's a good example of how to use it. And kids use it as well. I've spoken to children, they've explained how they use it. And an example is when a challenging, it could be an assignment or problem come up, and what kids have been able to learning to do is reframing in their mind with self-talk and saying to themselves like, okay, well, I'm actually really struggling with this, but I'm really lucky that I've got a great teacher who will help me. If I ask questions, I might be able to find out the answers to the issues that I'm having. I've got some great friends who will help me. And do you know what? I'm actually really lucky I'll get a chance to go to school, because I know a lot of other kids my age don't get a chance to go to school. So I'm going to try really hard here. And that's just putting it in a different perspective. And kids can do that. And I know adults can do it as well, obviously. And I just want you to think about, from a business perspective, from how that might look in your business. That reframing to overcome adversity, if it's dealing with different employees, or having that hard conversation, or going for a business deal, whatever it might be. Just how that reframing can really affect us. Impact us in such a positive way. So that's a great example of how reframing works. Now, another thing that comes up is overwhelm, or how to teach it. So what often happens is that we get asked, well, where to start? Where do we start? Do we look at books? We've got schools and businesses coming to us. Do we attend training days? Do we look at different material? Do we watch videos? Do we attend conferences? Do we do different courses? It's one of those things where we're not really sure where to start. But I'll give you an example of a great place to start. Is it invest in an evidence-based program? And what that does, that brings, every business and school should invest in an evidence-based program. And what it does, it brings two things. New ideas and methods that are proven. And a good program will give you some ideas and a place to start. But a great program will offer support and use scientifically based methodology. And that's exactly why Growing with Gratitude, in primary schools and family homes, we actually run studies on the program specifically because we want to give the best possible resources to schools and families. Because I think that's our ethical responsibility to do that. And we're here to serve and give to our families and schools. And I know that in our collaboration with Be Intent, that is being exquisitely researched, and that the tool is absolutely amazing. And I know that it's getting some great, really, really positive results. And I know that some of the biggest companies in the world, like Virgin, for example, use Be Intent tool to look after the well-being of their staff. And there's been from Be Intent, there's been a 66% reduction in anger and tiredness in the workplace, and a 39% of increased focus. So it's very important we and that's actually from 9,000 people, so that's a very big study. So, and it's just so important that you invest in the best resources available, and look after your employees and your students and your family. Now, this is just going to take a minute. I just want to spend a minute talking about why gratitude in primary schools and family homes across the globe. Now, in 2030, there's a prediction made. I apologise, I forgot to get the source of the study, but believe me, there is a study out there that talks about in 2030, depression will be the leading disease in the developed world. That's the prediction. Now, I truly and strongly believe that we can make a difference and not let that happen. Now, in 2030, the children of today will be the next generation of adults. And of course, hopefully that will be still around in 2030, but the new generation will be the kids of today. And that's one of the reasons why we wanted to really plant the seeds of happiness for children in primary schools and in family homes, so we give them the best opportunity to work through adversity, to work through challenges, because as they get older in teenage years, and we're living in a time with technology like nothing before, and things are going to be challenging. But if we've given them the tools, the basic tools to reframe things and really embedded gratitude and kindness and empathy and compassion into the person, into the young child, it's only going to hold them in good stead. So that's the reason why we wanted to implement it. And that's our philosophy behind it. And we want families to be able to support their children at home too. Because some of the feedback we've got from our research in schools is that parents want to be able to support their children at home as well. But not only for the children, but for themselves as well, because it's powerful. Powerful for adults, powerful for children. And that's why we want to implement gratitude into primary schools and family homes across the globe. So I just want to talk about a discovery. So the old way of positive psychology is one-off lessons, the odd post around the office or classroom, a short focus and then not revisiting, a photocopy a worksheet or send out an email, hold a once-in-a-while discussion, attend the odd training day, the odd guest speaker, or not even bother at all. Now, it's not the end of, it's great that maybe this stuff has happened, but it's not going to make it a part of who we are, because if it's a one-off lesson in school, well, being a former primary school teacher, I know that that's not going to stick, because it has to be regular practice for the learning to really take place and really, I guess, become or really ingrain in our brain. So, and the odd post around the class or the odd email with a positive article on gratitude, it's not going to make it a part of who we are, because we're not practicing on a regular basis. It's got to be the new way of positive psychology. Time allocation. We've got to invest the time in our days, and we, as business leaders and teachers, we need to allow children and employees to do that, to really look after their wellbeing. It's got to be consistent. It's got to be on a daily basis, or at least 4 or 5 times a week, to make it a part of who we are. It's got to be fun and engaging. Others will it won't have the positive effect that it's designed to, and that's what's so important as well. And it's got to be habit forming. So it's got to make it a part of who we are. And we've got to explicitly teach, first of all, especially the kids, what gratitude is, what kindness is, what optimism is, what empathy is, what compassion is. And also a great reminder for adults as well to explicitly to learn what it is, because sometimes we forget. And it's got to be those 2 to 10 minute short habit-forming activities. And what that does, that creates culture. Culture in schools, culture in business, and culture in the home. Very powerful. So as we wrap up the presentation part today, I promise that we'll learn how a deep sense of gratitude will change or even enhance the culture of your business and school. Discover why gratitude is useless unless you practice. We learn how to build resilient employees and students so you can put your energy into quality leadership and teaching instead of wasting energy on the things that are chewing up valuable time. discover the power of the compound effect and reframing when it comes to changing or enhancing the culture of your business and school. And we learn how and why we embed a deep culture of gratitude into primary schools and family homes across the globe. So just to recap, what you need to win. You need to allocate small pockets of time to consciously cultivate gratitude. Consistency is your key. We must be consistent. Got to make it fun and engaging. The investment in time is your friend. So the investment that you put into your students and your employees and your family home will have a positive impact and will definitely repay you in so many ways. And invest in an evidence-based program. That's what you need to win. And these 5 shifts alone are enough to help you start a high-quality positive education program in your business and school. So that comes to the question and answer now. Now, I just want to, if you want to reach out and if you like what you heard today and you want to know more, please contact me at info@growingwithgratitude.com.au. You can check out a couple of our sites there. Growingwithgratitude.com is our primary school site. It's about to be updated and soon, but it's still some great content there. Ashmanuel.com can take you to our home program as well as visit Be Intent, and that's the business side as well. So hopefully, we've got some questions there, and I'll hand you back and see if we've got some questions.
Thank you very much, Ash, for such a fascinating presentation. Folks, we are now open for the question answer. If you have any questions, you can either put in the question box given in the end of the webinar console, or you could equally raise your hand by clicking on the hand icon available on the webinar console. So let me go straight to the question box. We have first question for Ash, that is, how should a manager support and motivate his team in any organization?
How could a leader motivate their team in any organisation?
Yes.
Was that the question?
Yes.
Yep. That's a great question. I think it's got to start from the leader setting the example. So I think if you start sending out or emails, like setting that example by thanking them, making your employees feel really appreciated, I think that inspires, because that's psychological. Well, I mean, people work for a number of reasons, but one of them is to be recognised for their work, to be appreciated. And if we can, as leaders, recognise employees in different ways, whether it's just a simple thank you verbally or an email thanking them for something they did that benefited the organisation or the group, it's a very powerful thing to do. So I think just to answer that question in short, I think it's really start with appreciating your employees and starting in that manner.
We have another one, that is, how do you suggest people evaluate organizational culture?
That's a great question, and I think there's a few different ways to, I guess, assess organisation culture organisation culture. There's definitely some tools out there to use. I know that Be Intent seriously, I mean, the collaboration, we want to collaborate with Be Intent because it is that good, and that tool has features in it where you can actually do that. It's got like a portal that is relevant just to the business, and it's got software in that to be able to measure it and put together a system where you can actually measure your business. So without, obviously, I can't share that now, but within Be Intent, there's actually a resource that you can actually use to do that, and it's very powerful the way that it's used, and it's a really good tool to use, and I know there's been some great feedback and to use that.
Thank you for a brief answer, Ash. We have another one, that is, how we can help strengthen the economic case for better mental well-being at work.
So can you just repeat that one?
How can we help strengthen the economic case for better mental well-being at work?
Okay, so economic.
Let me type here for you.
Yep. Okay, how can we help strengthen the economic case for better mental health at work? So I think that's a very good question. I think because what it does is better mental health better mental well-being at work. When employees are in a better state of mind, we're more productive. If you think about it, if you're in a bad mood, I know that for me, if I'm in a bad mood, luckily I've been able to develop some strategies to overcome those, but it's you just don't want to do anything. You just want to lay down and just chill out and not have to worry about anything. But once we're in a good state of mind, our productivity is brilliant. We actually can think better. We can reframe things to overcome overcome adversity, and it's very powerful to do from a business to really grow the business from the bottom line in terms of a financial point of view. And once we look after our employees and our employees are in a good state of mind, well, it's only going to hold them in good stead because we, as I said before, particularly we're more creative, we're more productive, we're less depressed and anxious, which are all key components for any business, for any school, and it's a powerful thing to have. And hopefully that you've answered, I've answered that question and interpreted it in the right way. But if not, feel free to email me at the info@growingwithgratitude.com.au, and I'll be able to have that conversation there as well.
Thank you, Ash, for your time. Before we end the webinar, do you have any concluding remarks, Ash?
I just really appreciate everyone investing their time, and hopefully you've got something out of it. And definitely, I mean, our number one aim is to serve. So please feel free to reach out, and we'll help in any way we can, because that's what we're certainly aiming to do. We're definitely aiming to make a difference to schools and businesses, and please reach out if you need anything. And thank you so much.
Thank you. I really want to thank you, Ash, on behalf of Gulf Business Network Training Center, for sharing this valuable information. Thank you all of those who participated in this webinar. We are recording this, so stay tuned to www.gbndc.com/webinars to access the recorded version of webinar, to download the soft copy presentation. You can also check out the upcoming programs and the webinars on our website. With this, I would be dismissing you all from this webinar. Allah Hafiz.